It is a college basketball kind of week here in the Bay Area. Scott Reis with you on KNBR. We'll have Steve Lavin, the coach, with us next hour around 8:30. But if you can't wait that long, we have a special treat for you. Chris Gerlufsen, who is the new head coach at the University of San Francisco, good enough to take some time out. Coach, appreciate your time. Congratulations on the gig, and give us a sense of what the last week has been like for you.
Well, first, Scott, thanks for having me on. It's great to talk to you. Oh, man, where do I start? The last week has been like a movie for me. It's been a whirlwind. You go all the way back to our game against Murray State. Feels like forever ago at this point. But from our experience in Indianapolis, having a chance to play in the NCAA tournament, to obviously the unfortunate news, Coach Golden deciding to take a job at the University of Florida, and then for me getting the job in the fashion that I did and the timeliness that I did, it's just been it's been a whirlwind. But I'm so grateful and so excited to kind of hit the ground running. So,
what was so compelling about this opportunity at this time, given, frankly, the tremendous season that the Dons had last year, and in terms of the evolution of this program and trying to take it to the next level?
Yeah, it's obviously, a program with so much history and so much tradition, and to be able to come in this year, in my first year, and have a chance to do something that the program hasn't done since 1998 was just so incredibly special. And I'm just excited to have the chance to build upon our success this year and try to make this a continual thing on a year-by-year basis.
Why was this season so special? You see on the court, and the guard play was great, and you had seniors, and you had a lot of the elements that would make for a really productive year. But, man, it's tough to do what you did in the WCC and to break through that at-large ceiling where it's not just the Zags and St. Mary's and maybe BYU. What was it about this team this year that allowed everything to click as it did?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've talked about this a lot with our group and with our staff. It was in my 23 years of coaching, this was the funnest year that I've had by far in terms of just being around the staff, being around a group of young men, and literally from 1 to 27, the amount of people that we have in our program, everyone was pulling in the same direction. There was no drama. Everyone accepted the roles from a staff component to a player component, and we just all pulled in the same direction. And it's amazing what you can do when you have a group that's committed to doing that. So you lose several key seniors, obviously, including Jamari Bouye, who gave us that incredible out-of-body stretch at the end of the Murray State game. You lose Patrick Tape. Khalil Shabazz has eligibility remaining. Any chance that he comes back and give us a sort of an early glimpse, recruits and transfers notwithstanding, at what you expect this roster to look like next year? Yeah, obviously Jamari put on one of the performances for the ages, in that first round game. It was incredible. And he'll be tough to replace, but we're confident that we're going to try to work some magic here on Khalil and, have a great relationship with him. And, he represents what this program is about, from a grittiness standpoint, from a guy who was undervalued, coming out of high school. And he just has a chip on his shoulder. And those are the kind of guys that I want to represent this program moving forward. So, he's priority number one. The staff knows that, and we're spending a lot of time just letting him know how important he is to us moving forward.
So prior to your time in San Francisco, you spent some time at the University of Hawaii, and I think a lot of people are curious, what is it like coaching college basketball in Hawaii?
It's unbelievable experience. Obviously, there's no pro sports, on the island. So everything UH sports is the pro sport. And from a media presence to a fan's perspective, it has almost a high major feel to it, in terms of what it feels like to coach there. And I was fortunate enough to have a chance to be the interim head coach there. So, during that time, I think it prepared me for, the media and things of that nature. And it's obviously you're on an island, and it's hard to get to the mainland, but it's a special place, and they have a pretty good tradition themselves in terms of what they've been able to do from a basketball standpoint.
You use the phrase "on an island," and we use that all the time, right? As a term of speech, as a figure of speech. You're literally on an island. And look, as one who does the Stanford broadcast, so I'm with the team and I'm traveling around the Pac-12, and you're flying an hour to Oregon and you're flying an hour and a half to Washington and Arizona and whatnot. I mean, it's an entirely different animal. What's the grind like? People think, oh, how cool is that? You get to live in Hawaii and go to the beach when you're not practicing. But what's the grind like during the season in terms of that routine being at UH?
Yeah, no, I mean, the away trips and what you have to endure on that end, it's hard. And it kind of takes a toll on you, as the season goes on. And, it's a hard place. It's a hard place to play, and Hawaii has generally struggled when they've gone on the road because of some of the travel. And it is what it is. When you leave the island, you're leaving the island for 4, 5, 6 days at a pop, and there are no short trips. You're not driving over to Pacific or over to Santa Clara to play a game. You're getting on a 4 or 5 hour plane ride and hunkering down for 4 or 5 days on the road.
Yeah, not all glamour when it comes to 5-hour road trips every other week. We're talking with Chris Gerlufsen, the new head coach at USF here on KNBR, the sports leader. Coach, it's in your blood, right? Your dad was a head coach in UMass at UMass back in the day. So have you known since you were like old enough to walk and ostensibly, shoot a basketball that this is what you wanted to do? Yeah,
unfortunately, I was thrust into this without, any choice. When I was young, when I was in diapers, I was in the gym. So yeah, from an early age, whether I was playing or whatnot, I knew I wanted to coach, and it was just kind of the progression for me. I never wanted to do anything else, and I just love being in the gym. I love being around young people and having the chance to impact young men's lives and be a positive force for them. So yeah, it's been I never wanted to be a banker or a politician or anything like that. My path was laid pretty early on, and I'm happy to say it's worked out the way it has.
It's funny because being a basketball coach, sometimes you need to be a politician. And in this day and age, I don't want to say you need to be a banker too, but with NIL and the evolution of college sports, it's a little less of a stretch than it used to be. So with that in mind, what is your take on NIL as a new college head coach, and how big a deal will it be going forward at a school like USF?
Yeah, I think it's the new animal in the arena here, and the schools that are being progressive and figuring out creative ways to work through it are going to be the schools that give themselves a competitive advantage. When it comes to recruiting and also retaining players in their program. So it's been something that we've talked a lot about, both with administration and with the young men in our program. And it's going to be something that, we're going to have a nice plan for going forward, whether it's for guys like Khalil Shabazz or incoming guys. It's great to be in a city like San Francisco with so many resources here at your fingertips, where I think we can have some success with that maybe other places can't.
No, that's a great point. And it's such a fascinating topic. I touched on this earlier, but I think it's worth going back to just the West Coast Conference. It has been Gonzaga's conference now for the better part of 2 decades, right? And look, they're not slowing down anytime soon. We're going to see them tomorrow in the Sweet 16. But you proved this year that you can get an at-large, right? If you're not Gonzaga or St. Mary's or BYU. That said, it's one thing to do it once. It's another thing to be able to sustain that level and to keep the West Coast Conference a 3 or 4 bid league. So how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, I think there's there's some technique to it, from a scheduling component, to make sure you put yourself through analytics in the arena where you're going to be considered for an at-large, as long as you take care of your business and you perform well, whether it's in the non-conference or in conference play. You got to be a little lucky too. Things went just about as well as they could for us this year, from a performance standpoint. And then you have to have really good players. The players are what got this thing done for us. I thought we had a great plan when we put the roster together during last off season, and everything kind of came together. And I think the teams that stay old, with experienced guys, that's kind of the way the game is going. The teams that stay old have a chance to really continue to be successful. And that's going to be something that we try to do moving forward.
Well, since we've got you, I'll have you put your analyst cap on now. We talk about the Sweet 16. St. Peter's is a great story. We see this once in a while. We saw it with Oral Roberts last year, winning 2 games as a 15 seed. But here they are, knocking off Kentucky, a team that a lot of people thought was national championship caliber, and then beating, obviously, a very good Murray State team that you certainly know firsthand about the Racers. What's it like for a coach who has spent his entire career at mid-major programs to see a school like St. Peter's get to this point in the tournament?
I'm so happy for Shaheen Holloway and his program and the little small university of St. Peter's, what this run can do for not only, coach and his program, but what it's going to do for the university is it makes the hair on my arm stand up. It's like a story. It's like a movie. I got to see them play firsthand. I was there scouting the Kentucky St. Peter's game, and I watched them perform. And it is a gritty group. It's a team that plays super hard, and they're super connected. And it's so special to see, a team like that who nobody gave them a shot and where, to knock off Kentucky and they win that game, and you say, okay, it's only going to be a one-time deal, and they come back and they beat a really good Murray State team. So I'm just excited to watch them go the rest of the way, and I couldn't be more happy for Coach Holloway and his staff and his players. That's a special, special story.
It's going to be fun to watch that grit of St. Peter's against the size of Purdue in the next round. All right, Coach, you look at the Sweet 16 and who's left in the bracket. What else jumps out at you? Obviously, you know Gonzaga very well, but what do you see in this final 16? Which games are you really super excited to watch? And at the end of the day, who do you think is left standing?
Well, I'm gonna put my money on the team that we've seen three times this year. I'm not gonna go against the Bulldogs at Gonzaga. I'm hoping. I still don't think they've played, to their level that they can play up to this point in the tournament. So I'm hoping that they can hit their stride. I had a chance to, watch Duke practice in our gym yesterday, and that's going to be a really interesting matchup with them and Texas Tech. But my money, I'm going to stick with the team that we see that represents the WCC, and I'm hoping they can make a run here and get to another Final Four.
See if they can finally get that championship that Mark Few has been chasing for so many years. All right, hey, Coach, really appreciate getting to know you a little bit. Congrats on the job. Best of luck going forward, and of course, we'll be keeping tabs on you at USF.
Thanks, Scott. I appreciate it.
That is Chris Gerlufsen of the San Francisco Dons.